To Darpan Day 70 today, and we will be discussing today the topic which we started in this week about what does the new age sales organization look like. In today's discussion on this continued topic, we will be actually looking at the elements of what are those shifts required in the organization to make it a sales organization. Majority of the SME in this country is a service oriented organization. They have sustained, they have grown, they are living today also only because of their impeccable service. None of them have systematically built, when I say none of them, I mean majority, some of you would have definitely, none of them have systematically built a sales organization. And the character of a audit driven, character of an efficiency driven, character of a productivity driven organization is very different from the character of a sales and marketing driven organization. So let's understand this part today. Then how do I build a sales and marketing organization? And to basically understand that, we will look at some behavioral shifts that are required in the sales and marketing organization. But before that, let's start our program with a meditation. Close your eyes. Breathe in, say I'm that. Breathe out, say I'm blissful. Breathe in, say I'm divine. Breathe out, say I'm all powerful. Breathe in, say I'm part of Him. Breathe out, I'm untouchable. No disease can touch me. I can heal myself. Please stand up for the prayer. Do a little recap of what we did till yesterday, so that we all are very clear about the whole structure of the sales organization. So this is how it is. So there is organization 1, there is organization number 2, there is organization number 3, there is organization number 4, and then there is a value pie. This value pie is created because of a network that we create. So this is the downstream firm. Then there is upstream suppliers. Then there is production partners. And then there is end users. All of them become part of a network which together add value to the value pie through their activities. And then all of them in different proportions extract value from the value pie, which is what we call as value creation. The first one is value creation, the black arrow, and then there is value there is value appropriation. That's how the whole thing functions. Now, how much will you be able to appropriate value from the value pie will depend upon the competitive forces outside the network. If the competition outside the network, is strong, the minimum amount guaranteed from the value pie for you will be less. If the competition is weak, the minimum amount guaranteed will be more. And the amount that you can appropriate from the value pie will be in the range of minimum amount guaranteed with the competition and your competitive advantage, your bargaining power, your persuasion ability, whatever you want to call it. So therefore, one thing is clear, the total value appropriated is always less than the total value created. There is something always left in that value pie. Now, how much will you be able to appropriate will depend upon the blown up structure of this individual circle. So let's draw this individual circle. So individually, okay, leave it. I'll show it to you there only. So individually, organizations will have to they're usually like this. The internal network map is like this. The upstream part, there's a downstream part. Upstream part is like product creation. There's a downstream part which is almost like the delivery, logistics, after sales, backend. This is usual structure of a service organization, and therefore structure of majority of our SMEs. And they create some kind of a value pie for themselves. The power of this value pie will decide how much can you extract from the network value pie, external network value pie. This has to become a much larger and more competitive circle, and it must have a strong combination of sales network, data analysis, human capital, and brand communication. If these four new circles do not enter, it will not be able to generate larger value pie, which can extract larger value from the network's value pie, from the external network's value pie. Now, any questions still here? 2 minutes, you can ask me any questions, and then I can maybe proceed. I'm lowering the hands, and if you have questions, please raise the hands. Any questions? Okay. No questions, then I can proceed. So this is the value pie that we need to create for it to be able to have maximum impact on the organization. How do I ensure that my whole organization is very well ready to be able to extract the maximum value? तो अभी इसको अगर मैं redefine करूं तो I can say that we have to build a sales organization. So how do I make a sales organization? So following steps need to be taken to make a sales organization. Step number 1. Apart from hiring a sales team and having a strong sales and data analysis team, you must have a right methodology to identify your customers. Who are your customers? Now, defining who your customers are is not a very simple thing to do. To define who your customers are is a process in itself. And in today's world, if you're not able to identify your customers precisely and give it a definition precisely, and it is very different from old age definition of saying age group this, income group this, SEC, ABCDEF, whatever you want to call it. No, that is not how you define the customers in today's world. You have to define, how does my customer look like? What does he do? How are his, what are his characteristics? Now, this guy can be a 20-year-old guy or a girl, and this person can also be a 62-year-old person. Both of them might have same abilities and same characteristics. 20-year-old guy is like that by natural phenomena of that age, but the guy who's 62 years old, he has continuously transformed himself to remain 20 years in terms of mindset. So that transformation activity in the person is so continuous that he is behaving like Generation Z while having the wisdom of all other generations. So much useful resource. So identify your customers. Very important. Build data around it. Identifying the customer is the one part of the problem. Building data around it is second part of the problem. Now, how can you build data around it? And what kind of data do I need? Identify that. So it is extremely important to understand who my customer is, then understand what are the various things that he actually um, does in his daily life. So building data around it. Having a strong data analyst team to analyze the data and build insights. If I do not have the data analyst team who can analyze the data and build insights around it, important thing to do. Just having data around it is an important thing to do. But if I don't have analysis done on the data, then it is like having the whole mine of diamonds, but you're not actually, you cannot use those diamonds. Having a strong data analysis that will correlate salesman behavior to the first and consistent sales. Because there are set behaviors which will bring you first sales, and there are set behaviors which will bring you consistent sales. Now we should be able to enumerate the behaviors. We should be able to enumerate the behaviors very well, write it down very well, and then correlate the same with the kind of sales that you are getting. A strong data analysis which can correlate behaviors to salesman's behavior to the sales is absolutely new age way of working. And result will therefore be a function of two factors: perfect digital organization creation. Why? Because the only way in which you will be able to now correlate behavior to success is by having those significant data points which will help you to build those bricks in the organization. The digital organization, that is the relevance of the future of today. No, forget the future, today. So that is an important thing to do. And second is perfect behavior correlation. If I do not have a strong digital organization, which one does not have the right data, it has the data which everybody has, but it does not have the right data. What is the definition of right data? Let us understand that part. Well, what do you mean by right data? A right data first important characteristic of right data is something which is not bought. If you buy data from the market, that are available, you can go and buy data. You will be excited that saying that I have the database of 10,000 customers, potential customers. But that's not the right data. Because when I say right data, what I mean is data that is what does that mean? That means the data where the credibility is there. It can be whatever, but credibility and experience is there in the data. So if I buy 6,000 data from outside, I will have to do a cold call and give him all the gyan, all the things, and then it might not still work. But how do you define the right data? When do you call data as yours? You call data as yours when you have extracted that data. That means there was some communication. There was some communication that went out from your side which resonated with him or her. And then he or she came to you because of the communication. The first thing is that. Second thing, there is an experience that has been that has accumulated in that data. So when he or she came to you, whatever experience he or she had, that is now part of him or her. That is now part of him or her. Now that experience is something which becomes an integral part of the data. That is the right data. See, and that is third point is again a very important point, but it is to be understood a little deeply. First two is easy to understand. The communication went, the right people who resonated with that communication came to you. Then experience happened, and then experience got accumulated in the data. But what makes this data really yours and really yours is when the data connects with your. Now C may not happen. C may not happen all the time. It will happen after some time only. But usually, C is what makes data really yours. When A and B is happening, data is yours, but C is what makes it really yours. It will never move out because now it is perfectly belonging to you. How many such A you have, how many such A plus B you have, and how many such A plus B plus C you have. So if I have to draw a pie and say that so A plus B, A plus B plus C. Actually, it begins with A. So the whole pie is A, which you then divide between A plus B and A plus B plus C. But when I say A as a separate section over here, these are those people who who came to you and are only there. They haven't had any experience with you. They came to you but did not experience. There are some people who experienced you, but there are some people who experienced you then became really connected with you with your purpose. The larger the C pie, the larger the C, the stronger will be the database. Suppose this becomes C and this becomes A, weaker will be the database. And the smaller the C, the smaller is the database, the weaker the database. So therefore, it is just a proportion between A, B, and C. People who came to you, people who experienced you, people who connected with you. Now, suppose you buy the data. Neither A happens, B happens, nor C happens. So to get the A to happen, LinkedIn Navigator, what among A, B, and C it is? None. You're just trying to create a communication, and if that communication attracts, so you send an email or you send out a creative, then you are bringing A on board. But you need to do a lot of work to take the person from A to B to C. Now these things do not happen by accident and do not happen only when you are stressed about कि मेरे पास customers नहीं. Usually जब business आना बंद हो जाता है तब हम सोचते हैं कि अरे कहाँ से लाएं. No, that is not the case. When nature is gifting you something, consider that as an opportunity to build something else. We just take that as gift and think nature will continue to give me. ये कृपा आपके ऊपर हमेशा ही होती रहेगी, ऐसा सोचने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. और जब ये कृपा होनी बंद हो जाती है तो हमारे मन में थॉट आता है कि ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, इसको बेच देते हैं. So majority of the SMEs would want to sell their businesses because now they don't want to put an effort to rebuild the organization again. That effort, that tiredness is coming because at the right time we did not do what we had to do. But what is the right time? Today is the right time. Start today. That is what exactly is the important thing to do. That nature has gifted us this gift of difficulty, of crisis. Let's take this as an opportunity and rebuild ourselves. People will understand. Social status will not be destroyed. You are just trying to build again, and there is no problem. So therefore, I feel it's an important point right now to, I'll come to this. I was reading the questions. I'll come to that. So first is the data. Any questions here? You must have questions. How can you not have questions? Some people usually have questions.
Good morning.
Good morning, Shubhangi. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to have more clarification on identify customers. We have customers, so we have to deal
Identifying
with.
the customer means you should know what is the kind of customer you deal with. Okay, let me ask you a question. Who is the customer of Maruti?
The middle class or the employed people.
You can think something, right?
Yes.
That's exactly what it means.
Okay.
Like you can think who is the customer of Aston Martin. Can you say that?
No.
Okay, Mercedes.
Mercedes businessmen or senior people in
Very
the
good. So you
company.
actually said it perfectly correct. How Mercedes defines is like this. A person who is a businessman standing behind the steering wheel and driving his own car. So he defines it like that. Now, Mercedes has defined the customer, right? Like
Right.
you were able to define it for Mercedes.
Okay.
Similarly, you should be able to define for your own self.
Okay. Right. I mean, identify is more of defining a customer, not individually identify कि ये मेरा customer.
Step number 2.
Right.
Step number 1 is identifying the generic face.
Okay.
Then step number 2 is where do I get it? How do I get it?
Okay.
Here you have to identify these are the number of customers I can target.
Right.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
That's right. Hardik, please unmute from your side. Okay. Yes, Hardik. Can you hear me? Mr. Naresh Mansukani, please unmute from your side.
I'm into insurance.
Yeah,
So how do I identify my customers in particular?
you would know now what kind of insurance that you're selling and what is the kind of customers you deal with. Who are usually to buy your who will usually buy your insurance?
Anyone and everyone. I have HNI also with me.
So, but you have to target now. You have to be very careful.
Target.
Whom do you target to? You can't target to whole world. Everybody has to buy an insurance. But
That's true.
where do you really want to keep your focus, your energies on? Do you want to focus your energies on whole world, or you want to focus your energies on a particular segment? That is your choice.
Okay. Noted.
All right, thank you.
But from where to get unknown customers at this moment?
That is the process. So there are multiple tools. I will tell you some tools that we can use to get it. But again, like LinkedIn Navigator is one very interesting tool, which you can use to get the kind of customers you need if you are in a particular segment. Then there are databases that are available, but the right thing to do is getting a database or using a LinkedIn Navigator is only one point, but you must have the balance system built to really attract them. Suppose a
I'm
LinkedIn
you.
Navigator sends me an email. Sorry.
I'm using LinkedIn also, Facebook also, and nowadays I use my status also on the Facebook.
So there are multiple ways in which you communicate.
Yeah, yeah,
But what you communicate and how do you handle beyond communication is the important step of the process. Right now, databases are many. The methods are many to communicate. The difficult part is identifying whom to communicate to. There was a time
yeah.
when it was difficult to communicate. Now there is no difficult to communicate. There are multiple tools to communicate. But the problem is whom to communicate. How to be precise in my communication. What to communicate. That on reading one line, because it's said that the only 3 seconds is what a person spends, and you have only 3 seconds to attract him.
True, true.
Fourth second he will move out. So how do I attract him in 3 seconds is something that you need to be clear about.
Can you give us in brief in the during the discussion further down by you?
Yeah, I will go. I'll get into that. Don't worry.
Thank you very much, sir. Right.
Good morning, Rohitji. You see, in the case of organizations like ours, which are basically on the EPC side segment, most of the data is generally kind of available in either the government domains or it is either bought over from research and organizations. Kind of.
Right.
So you said that initially when you said that data should not be bought, it should be generated yours, it should be yours. So there was a confusion onto that.
When I said data should not be bought, what I actually meant was, so let me rephrase the whole thing for everybody. Don't consider bought data as your customer data.
Yeah.
Till the time you have made it your own.
Okay. Okay. So basically, whatever is that data is the raw data, and you basically refine it to suit your organization.
That is just data. It has no meaning till the time you have actually converted that data into your data. And your data means A, B, C.
Yeah. The second is when you made your pie, you had, A in one column and B in other column and A plus B plus C in the other column. And then afterwards you changed over to
A, B, C. It's the same thing. Basically, C includes A and B.
Okay.
I cannot reach C without A and B.
Okay.
So that's why I just made a little tweak. Nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Good morning, Rohit.
Good morning.
See, when the data connects, the C is when the data connects with your purpose, right?
Right.
And your purpose is communicated by every touch point you have with the market and a potential customer. Right. And the one beautiful point which you said, the new age is the salesman behavior, which is correlating with that. So the every touch point of your communication and the experience which you give, like you said, it only gives you a few seconds to confirm his belief about you, about your image, about your value system. And he is also looking at somebody to work with similar purpose.
That's right.
So the communication within the organization, one thing is framing this as a leader for your organization. Second thing is percolating that across the organization. So it's not you who is thinking in Dehradun or Patna or Chennai or Kerala. Also breathe and eat and sleep those values. How isn't that the gap which is essential to bridge?
Of course, that is the most important thing to do. So this is something which is the game changer. So what we do in TransGanization, the Parivartan journey, is exactly that. We first help you define your purpose, and then by the end of the journey, we percolate it down to every small morsel of the organization. So it takes us about 3 to 5 years to do that. But that is where the most satisfaction happens. So out of many of the people who are attending here also, there are few who are actually in that journey. Almost, some are there, some are almost there, some have reached there, some are in middle. So they are in the process of percolating the purpose into the organization. That is the only thing that we are doing. The purpose of TransGanization is to do that only. Everything else is just education. That's why this education which I'm giving you is, I know it will have a value and it will have a huge amount of impact on you only if you have defined that part.
Correct. And as in trusting that definition is intellectual part, maybe a cerebral activity to really go decide, evaluate, constantly not change all those things. But the implementation part is something which will keep you afloat. Otherwise, it looks mystical and magical kind of stuff.
So it will be mystical and magical only for you. Till the time
Correct.
it becomes part of every single molecule of the organization, then it becomes mystical and magical for the organization.
Yeah, for the external world, for the competition, it's an invisible barrier for them.
Then the competition evaporates,
Right.
because you can't compete on purpose. How will you compete on purpose? That's your purpose, and nobody else can even have exactly same purpose. And even if it has in a statement, it is not part of the organization. Like, it's
Right.
difficult to compete Harley Davidson. Why?
Hmm.
It's because it is
Eat, breathe,
part.
and sleep by them. Yeah.
It is a
The fact
community
is,
now.
they transfer the tattoos on the bodies of the people who follow them.
It's Harley Davidson has stopped selling bikes. It is only inviting you to become part of their community. Who goes and asks the price of the Harley Davidson bike? Rather, I can't even enter Harley Davidson showroom, because when I'll enter the showroom, they will look at me, who is he? Is that kind of, that is what is really an organism is. It's not even an organization.
Yeah, good example. Thanks.
Umeshji, please unmute. Okay.
Hi, good morning, Rosman.
Good morning, Rohit.
Um, we are a B2B organization selling industrial consumables,
Mhm.
which are custom made to specifically to a customer.
Mhm.
And that is in the brand protection field. So we have defined our customers as the brand owners, the leading brand owners, and so on. Our problem is getting to the right person within the organization, because purchase department is the wrong place. We are looking at the CEOs, the MDs, and the GMs of various and marketing.
Mhm.
So our problem is how to get hold of those people and define their particular roles within those organizations, getting the right person.
Mhm.
So how does one would attack that person?
Again, it's the same thing. You have to ensure. See, it's not about people only in the organization. It's about your communication to the organization. When is your brand known? Your brand is known only when people who don't know you speak about you. I would call your brand a brand only when people who have not experienced you talk about you. They have that. That is what the power of communication is. KPMG or Anderson or these large organizations did not become KPMG and Anderson from the day one. They did certain activities right, that people who don't know them talk about them so much that they call them when they need that thing. So what does communication mean? Communication actually means communicating in the words that people understand what you stand for. If I have to simply explain communication in one pie, it is like this. The last question, that I'll move forward. So communication, if I have to explain in one simple pie, it will be, so there is you, then there is competition, and then there is customer. Now, I would call that you are positioned well only when you can, you stand for what you stand for, your core is clear, you're differentiated from competition, and you are relevant to the customer. This is where your communication should lie. Are you getting it?
Yeah, got it.
If you are, if you, for you to remain relevant to the customer, if you have to go and talk to the purchase guy or some guy only, that means your communication is not right. You are only, if you're only talking from your core, if you're speaking only from your core, and your written, physical, written, physical, and pictorial communication is not talking at this point, your communication is not right. So you need a lot of meetings, you need a lot of words, you need a lot of conversations for it to happen. The great thing is to have communication at this point, and then game set match. They
Right.
will call you.
So basically, a lot of brand building on the
Whatever you call it. It
Sorry,
need not be
whatever.
brand building. It is just about getting it right. How do you get it right is about first get the communication right. Then how do I spread to the world that communication is, today is not very difficult time for that. It's very easy to do it. The
Okay, fine.
difficult thing is to get the communication right.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. One last, and then I'll explain the next part. Abhijit, quickly, or otherwise you explain later. Okay. I move next.
Hi Rohit, good morning. I think by mistake I clicked. Sorry.
Okay. Unmute kar, mute kar. Okay. Second was build data around. Now, when I said data, we define the data. Third point is build insights around it. What is the meaning of building insights around? How do you build insights around the data? So I will redo one part which I had done long time back for the Ripple attendees, and I've done it for Anubhuti attendees and even detail, but I'll still do that part to make sense out of it and give more credibility to that. Now, this is your organization, the network which you talk about, the internal network. Within this internal network, there is an invisible network. And this invisible network now needs to be very tangibly defined. This invisible network needs to be very tangibly defined. This network should have the power to go out of my organization, out of the network, and bring in best possible customer insights. So the first part of customer insight is data. इसके बगैर तो कुछ भी नहीं होगा. So getting data is the first difficult thing that you have to do. But having got the data does not mean that you have got everything. So this data, once brought in, has to go inside the organization and become insights. It should not enter the organization. It should not enter the operational organization without having completely vetted in this transparent, protected environment. So data has to become insights. Now, if data cannot become insights, this data is just a raw form, making no meaning. Now, having become insights, it's important for these insights to become testable ideas. Ideas shouldn't just drop from air. No, data to insight to testable idea, and this testable idea has to be piloted, and once successful, or if successful, this piloted idea should go and become part of your operational improvement or insight to sales or innovation, whatever. After piloting it, testing it, then only it should become a part of my operational improvement process. It should become an insight to sales team. It should become innovation. Therefore, if data organization is not created within my organization, I will just throw things, I'll just throw data on my sales team or data on my sales organization. Now, data on the sales organization is just a data. It has no meaning. It has to become an insight has to become a testable idea has to become a pilot, and then pilot has to be post success only delivered to the sales team as an insight, or to the operations team as an insight, or to my whole organization who's operating in my world as innovation or as a sales insight or as an operational improvement. Now, these things do not happen by accident. These things don't happen by accident. You need to have a very well defined process for this. Questions here? Yes, Mr. Dinesh Verma. Not able to hear you.
हेलो
जी
सर, आ रही है आवाज?
आ रही है बोलिए।
सर, जैसे आपने डेटा एनालिसिस की बहुत इम्पोर्टेंस बताई है, और कल आपने कहा था कि बिफोर हायरिंग एनी डेटा एनालिस्ट यू योरसेल्फ शुड नो अबाउट योर डेटा। अगर हमने एक डेटा कलेक्ट कर लिया जो एक क्लीन डाटा है, जिसको आपने कल समझाया था क्लीन डाटा क्या होना चाहिए, तो सर कुछ ऐसे कॉमन पैरामीटर्स हैं जिससे हम डाटा को एनालाइज कर सके? कुछ 2-3 पॉइंट्स क्या होने चाहिए?
ये एक डिटेल डिस्कशन का टॉपिक है, मैंने कल भी बोला था। मैं इस पे जस्टिस नहीं कर पाऊंगा अगर मैं आपको सिर्फ कुछ बता दूं। मैं बोल देता हूं फिर भी, आपने क्वेश्चन पूछा है तो, लेकिन इसको हमको बहुत डिटेल में समझना पड़ेगा कि डेटा को क्लीन डेटा कब बोलते हैं, वो क्लीन करते कैसे हैं, पहला पॉइंट। दूसरा पॉइंट अपने को समझना पड़ेगा, क्लीन डेटा के साथ हम खेलते कैसे, हाउ डू वी प्ले विद इट। और तीसरा पॉइंट ये समझना पड़ेगा, प्ले करने के बाद उस प्लेड डेटा को इनसाइट में कैसे कन्वर्ट करते हैं।
जी।
अभी ये सब चीजें मैं आपको क्यों बता रहा हूं, क्योंकि ये चीजें आपको आनी चाहिए। ये आज आपका नया स्किल है जो आपको सीखना ही पड़ेगा। इट इज ऑलमोस्ट लाइक कि मेरे पास अगर मोबाइल फोन नहीं है तो मैं ऑपरेट नहीं कर सकता इस वर्ल्ड में। आज की डेट में मैं बिजनेस ही नहीं कर सकता। मोबाइल फोन है लेकिन वो उस पर व्हाट्सएप नहीं आ सकता तो मेरा बिजनेस तो बंद ही हो जाएगा, बिकॉज मेजोरिटी कम्युनिकेशन उस पर ही होता है। ये एग्जैक्टली वैसा ही हो गया है अभी। शायद उतना ऑब्वियस दिखता नहीं है, लेकिन अभी कुछ दिनों में ऑब्वियस भी दिखना शुरू हो जाएगा। तो आपको डेटा को आपके कस्टमर के इनसाइट के अराउंड एनालाइज करना है। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल यू में से मैं एक रॉ डेटा लेकर आया। आप किस बिजनेस में?
सर, वी आर इन वायर्स एंड केबल्स।
In wires and cables. Okay, so now when you when you got the raw data of the customer, you're in B2B, right? You sell it to a person
Yes.
who needs wires, right? Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
So if you get the data, you say कि copper wire का भी मेरे को forecasting करना पड़ेगा कि उसका price गिरेगा कि बढ़ेगा.
जी.
तो forecasting करने की ability मेरे पास अगर आज है on the right data, तो मेरा data relevant है ना. क्योंकि अगर मैंने forecast करके based on various elements, which is the intelligence of the organization, then wisdom of the organization, आपको past experience, आपने ये पता कर लिया कि 6 महीने के बाद या 5 महीने के बाद या 4 महीने के बाद कॉपर का प्राइस बढ़ने वाला है, तो आपने अगर आज ही प्रोक्योर कर लिया तो 4 महीने के बाद जब सेल्स होगा और कस्टमर करंट कॉपर प्राइस से पे करना चाहेगा, तो आपके पास ऑलरेडी ओल्ड कॉपर प्राइस का स्टॉक पड़ा होगा. उस टाइम पे आप क्लियरली कंपटीशन को बीट कर दो. और सबसे बड़ी बात है, कंपटीशन कोई समझेगा भी नहीं कि कैसे कम प्राइस में दे पा रहा है. कैसे कम प्राइस में दे पाए आप उस समय?
क्योंकि हमारा परचेज कम था.
परचेज कम क्यों था?
क्योंकि हमने टाइमली उसको एनालाइज करा.
तो किस टूल ने आपको हेल्प किया एनालाइज करने के लिए? डेटा एनालिसिस ने ना.
जी.
ये है पावर ऑफ डेटा.
नहीं, वो मैं समझ गया, पावर ऑफ डाटा समझ गया, लेकिन वो ठीक है आपकी बात की शायद वो पैरामीटर्स अभी आप यहाँ पे ब्रीफली नहीं बता पाएंगे. तो थोड़ा सा ये समझना चाहता था कि कुछ कॉमन पैरामीटर्स हैं जिससे हम समझ पाए, लेकिन अदरवाइज ठीक है, डाटा एनालाइज करना और इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस में समझ गया हूँ.
हाँ, तो लेकिन कॉमन पैरामीटर्स कुछ होते ही नहीं है ना इसमें. क्या कॉमन पैरामीटर्स? बहुत सारे
वो चलो
एलिमेंट्स हैं जिसके ऊपर हमको एनालाइज करना पड़ेगा इस चीज.
ठीक है सर, ठीक है. थैंक यू.
Hello. Good
Yes.
morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now we are having data in system only, और वो डेटा अराउंड 40 to 45,000 पेशेंट्स का है जो अब तक आए हैं. नाउ वो डेटा में से 15 to 17,000 ऑलरेडी हमारे पास ट्रीटमेंट लेके गए. नाउ कैन we have not touched that data any time. We have not called, we have not done anything. Can we utilize that data जो आप अगले हफ्ते जो लेने वाले हैं प्रोग्राम, वो जरूर लेना, पोस्टपोन नहीं करना है. डेटा एंड हाउ टू यूज व्हाट यू सेड couple of
next week sir.
हाँ, नेक्स्ट वीक का वो ले लो. वो डेटा एनालिसिस वाले आने के बाद उनको क्लीन डेटा देना है. तो व्हाट इज क्लीन डेटा वी डोंट नो, व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड वी डोंट नो. तो थोड़ा तो हम काम शुरू कर सकेंगे. जस्ट सब लोग बैठे हैं, तो समथिंग लाइक दैट अगले हफ्ते का आप जरूर ले लेना. देन वी विल गेट आइडिया, और उसमें से कुछ ना कुछ तो क्लीन करते बैठेंगे. नॉट 100% क्लीन द वे यू पीपल लाइक. Thank you.
Next week I'll be announcing that. Tomorrow I'll tell you the date when that program is, and we'll do that program either next week or next week. So next week that वो जो wellness वाला program Saturday को था, I've shifted that to Tuesday. So Tuesday 11:30 to 1 o'clock is the program on how wellness industry can come back on its own feet.
Yes.
What are the new operating models in the wellness industry? So that link is there on the chat box. You can click on that link and maybe register now. And so अभी वो next week का मैं date निकाल लेता हूँ. Data analysis का करना है, ये मुझे बहुत important topic.
Yeah. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, so this is what actually is the meaning of converting data into insights. Now the question was very relevant, that how do I convert data into insights? But it's very difficult to answer it just like that. the hypothesis creation कि मेरे को क्या लगता है. Hypothesis creation is one very important part of the data to be converted into insights. और वो जो लगता है ना, वो stories सबसे relevant रहती है. So we need to understand how do I build those stories. What are the right stories to be built, and what stories actually make sense, and then use data to ratify the stories and do further actions on it. This is an important point, because if we will not be able to have a strong data analysis done and build insights, then we will not be able to utilize data at all. Now, this was the customer data or outside data, outside the network data. Now, there is another very important analysis that needs to be done, and that is internal teams behavior data. Now, टीम के कुछ behaviors होते हैं. सबसे पहला पॉइंट है कि बिहेवियर का आपकी रिजल्ट से कोरिलेशन भी होता है. So there are certain behaviors, there are some behaviors like networking as a behavior. There are behaviors like informal conversations. There are behaviors like continuous connection. Displaying the ethos of organization. Now, perfect analysis of this data, how many people do this, mapping them to that behavior, and then correlating the whole thing with the behavior with result matrix. Now, question to all of you: how does this correlation help? How does this correlation help me? How does correlating behavior data with result help? Quickly, raise your hands.
Morning, Rohit. Morning, everybody.
Hi, Rajneesh.
Hi. So correlation will help you formulate a hypothesis.
How?
Because you see two things happening together, and if they have a high correlation, then there is a chance that doing A is causing B, but there is a chance, that's not certain, hence it's a hypothesis.
It gives you a cause effect. Correct.
Yes.
Cause effect becomes a hypothesis.
Yes.
Correct. So that is a very important point. If we are not able to correlate between two incidents, we will not be able to build the kind of behavioral fabric that I need for the organization.
Yes.
So it's a interesting, but how do I find the behaviors? So there has to be a proper methodology in which you collect the behavior data. Right now, how do you do it?
Would be guesswork, I think, right now.
How do you guess it?
You extrapolate your own thinking.
One is extrapolating your own thinking. So you're correct. So bang on. So majority times we think that because I do this and I'm successful, therefore all those who do this will be successful.
Yes.
So extrapolating your thinking. That is one way. Another way.
Sometimes the customers who are very close to you, you would have conversations with them and try to understand.
Correct. That is another way. So having conversations cannot happen over phone, right?
Yeah.
Such conversations happen only face to face.
Face to face or on video now. Yeah.
On what? On video now. Video
On
पे
video now.
face to face ही होती है. Third important thing is you observe the behaviors of your people, which is the most important observation. You observe the behavior of people and then you start drawing correlations.
Yes.
You say, this guy is successful because
Yes.
he is in touch with his customer all the time. You're observing. He hasn't told you, you haven't told him. You just observed. अब ऑब्जर्वेशन के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? होना पड़ेगा ना आसपास, जो आज वर्ल्ड में पॉसिबल नहीं है. Therefore, अभी समय actually apt है to create certain frameworks and infrastructures which will help us give these observations.
Yes.
So therefore, this is exactly what digital workplace is, because without these observations, hypotheses कैसे बनेंगे?
Absolutely.
It is such a, I mean, I will start feeling handicapped because half the time I don't even know what my people are doing.
Correct.
Secondly, I'm unable to form observations also, which were like my bread and butter, like my heartbeat. Now I will feel suffocated because I'm unable to observe them. So therefore, it is extremely essential to make the observations in the form of methodologies in the digital workplace. And that's why this program is starting today. I think we'll be closing or it's already closed. Prashant, it's closed? So I think it's closed. But if we can open, I think I'll request them to open up. If anybody still wants to enroll for that program, physical workplace to digital workplace, please do that today, because today evening we're starting that at 5 o'clock. And this is one of the very important imperatives. Thanks, Rajneesh. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is one very important imperative, that many of my correlations were getting formed because I was observing people. Now, there is no way of forming a correlation because I can't observe people anymore. So how do I build absolutely new frameworks of observation? Now, this is something which is extremely essential for us to understand. One, how do I make an organization which is ready to collect basic data now, which is most important to build the new walls, new desktops, new environment of the organization? One. Second, it is extremely important to have data and analyze it in such a way that I can build right customer relationship management tools. And third is, how do I build step by step the culture of an organization which actually resonates the point C, which I discussed today. A was communication से जो data आया, B was systematic way में मैंने उस data को किस तरीके से convert किया experience देने के लिए. C, B. And C is, how do I actually ensure that data becomes completely aligned with me on my purpose? And this is exactly what is this is the most important thing to do in today's world. Okay. So behaviors and results correlation करते हैं, which helps us to form right hypothesis. And I'm telling you, hypothesis is only hypothesis. Hypothesis is only hypothesis. Now, please explain this phrase for me. Kindly explain this phrase that why I wrote hypothesis is only hypothesis. I'm lowering the hands and then I'm asking you to raise hands again. Gaurav, can you unmute yourself? I think I've already done.
Hi, morning, Roji. Morning, everybody. So, hypothesis is hypothesis until proven otherwise.
Ah, but what do
So,
we? How do
when
we?
you make a statement, then you need to verify it until you verify it by testing it.
Yes. So hypothesis is hypothesis till the time it is proven otherwise or tested otherwise. But how is our usual behavior?
We just assume and just carry on assuming it is right
And
without validating it.
95% of our behavior is like this. That we are so convinced about our hypothesis that we say just do it. And that's the, thank you, Gaurav. Thank you very much. Ms. Shah, Kalpana Shah. Please unmute from your side if you have a question. Kalpana. Okay. So hypothesis is hypothesis unless proven otherwise. So therefore, it is important for me to have the right tools to test my hypothesis. And therefore, that is exactly where the whole um, data analysis comes into play. So next week, mostly I'll be taking this program on data analysis, or maybe week after next. I'll announce the date tomorrow. So that date will be then for the data analysis only. How do we actually analyze the data? All right. Let me move to the next part. A few critical things to implement for a data-driven approach. Leadership sponsorship is critical. That's what I said. I've been saying from yesterday, and I'm continuing to say today. Till the time leadership, promoters, all the promoters do not have, till the time promoters do not have diabetic passion for data. I'm using this non-English, non-Oxford English word called as diabetic. Diabetic means itna bada passion for data. And what kind of data? Not the data of operational excellence. वो तो हम सब promoter को बहुत मजा आता है. Cash flow देखने में, हमको operations का part देखने में, efficiency देखने में. I'm talking about customer side data which has not come to you. Customer relevance data which has not come to you. You've never seen that kind of data. Unknown data. Diabetic passion for unknown data, bringing hypotheses on it and building hypothesis, testing hypothesis, creating insights, from insights to piloting it, to converting it into testable propositions, piloting the testable proposition, converting that into what needs to be done in my organization from that tested pilot. जब तक promoter का ये full time job नहीं हो जाएगा ना, you can't become a data driven organization. You will not be able to. So that means promoters should have diabetic passion for clean data. How will he become clean data? I'll tell you, but he should have diabetic passion for clean data. He should be having a diabetic passion to ensure that clean data is converted into insights. He personally participates in insight building process. Then he personally participates in the testable proposition creation process. He personally participates in the piloting process and brings about his passion into creating that testable proposition into pilot, into testing the pilot, into actually converting into implementable insight into the organization. ये प्रोसेस करने में अगर प्रमोटर को मजा नहीं आ रहा है तो ये काम नहीं होगा. That's in clear Hindi words what point one means. Point number two, you must have You will have to do investment in business analyst, data science, data engineering, tools and talent both. It is like making your office right now. It is almost like making your office. तो अगर आप चेयर के बगैर कंप्यूटर के बगैर काम नहीं कर सकते ना, वैसे ही इन तीन चीजों के बगैर आप काम नहीं कर सकते. You need to have business analyst, you need to have data science, you need to have data engineering, talent and tools both. We just don't need big data, we need small data also. That is also going to be helpful, and small data is better than big data right now. It takes real commitment to unlock and operationalize the most powerful insights. And it takes the whole organization to do it. And whole organization will not do it if promoter is sitting tight and saying, you do it. तुम कर लो. तुम कर लो से तो होगा ही नहीं. ये delegation का काम ही नहीं है. This can't be delegated. Because you're calling for a cultural shift in the organization. A cultural shift does not happen if you are not shifting in your mindset. You will have to personally shift in your mindset for it to have a cultural shift. And if you make this dialogue that मैं थक गया हूं, I'm tired, I can't do all this, then you just sell the company and move out of the business. Because it's not going to work anymore in this new world. You will have to do this. Freeing data from silos. Now, this is an important point. Freeing the data from silos, cross-team collaboration is the key to success. Break your organization. Break it off. Break those glass walls. For any analytics project, data needs to be sourced from multiple sources across the organization to correlate behaviors and sales outcomes. It is not necessary that only salesperson's behavior is deciding the outcome. It may be necessary that accounts person's behavior is deciding the outcome. So we need to break off the silos, collect complete organization's behavior data, and then analyze the data against the results. When we do that, then only it becomes essential, it becomes important for us to be able to correlate or create a correlation between behavior and outcomes. Any questions here? Naresh.
So today's program was the best of yours which I've attended it. Whenever you have like this interaction going on, please send me an email also. I'll be there in your programs.
It is every day, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 10 o'clock.
Okay. I'll see to it. I'm there every day, sir.
Please do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Rohit bhai. For an MSME, this is a phenomenal change to go into this data analytics and science and so on. How would one approach such a thing? Change.
Step-by-step process, sir. A step-by-step process.
Sounds very expensive.
It's not expensive. Expensive is only when you don't realize the value of it. If you realize the value of it, then only it's expensive.
Okay.
And if you think it is expensive, then you're not valuing it. So when you value it, at that time, you will find it very, very cheap.
Okay, thank you.
Think over it. Yes, Gaurav.
I know. I understand the importance of data, and like many small scale industries and medium scale, maybe, right? They might not be able to invest in a tool. We call it ERP. You want to call it something else, but it's very easy to collect data in Excel sheets, diverse set of information from different groups. But unless we have a coherent system which relates all these things and makes a connection and presents to you in a edible way, what do you like? What are your thoughts on how does a small scale unit start?
The way you started, Gaurav, your organization has started it, no?
Yes, we do. But I'm just interested because maybe we have some ERP solution. Maybe I don't know whether it's optimal
Even
or
if
not.
you didn't have,
Sometimes you,
even if you didn't have, I didn't assume
yeah.
when we started our journey. I didn't assume you had a ERP solution. Even if you don't have, it is fine. The process is the same. If you have, it is only going to faster the whole thing, but process remains the same. Even if you have an ERP solution, I'm guaranteed the data is stuck in silos. I'm guaranteed you're not even looking at data. I'm guaranteed even if you're looking, you're not looking from this eye. And as Sumanta was telling yesterday, he has worked in majority, very many big MNCs. There also, data is stuck in silos. So idea is to just disrupt the whole system. So I've given this presentation, this kind of presentation, even in large MNC. I said, just break it off. You will have to break those glass walls and allow this whole interaction to happen. It can happen only when leadership is connected. If leadership is
So,
not connected on this thought, it can never happen.
Understood. So is it right to interpret what you're suggesting is the whole notion of if I share my data internally with every different organization, there could be a threat in terms of data loss or leaking and all that stuff. So what you're saying is the time to think is not what you would lose by sharing the data, but what one might gain by people who see eye to eye and they are able to connect these different dots given the data is available to them. That'd be more valuable than the threats.
Correct. See, data loss will have some loss to you.
Impact.
Little and very little. Forget data loss. आप जाके फ्री में देके आ जाओ किसी को डेटा, वो क्या करेगा? उसके पास अगर डेटा एनालाइज करने का आप तो कर नहीं पा रहे उसके साथ कुछ, वो क्या करेगा? You are not able to do anything with the data. What will he do? So first remove that fear कि मेरे डेटा के साथ वो कुछ कर लेगा. क्या कर लेगा? Rather say that, okay, this is the data for all of us. You do what you want to do. Let us together build something around it. And remember, what you build around it is wisdom, which only you can implement. Nobody else can. People can maximum take data from your organization. They can't take your wisdom.
True.
Because to build data into wisdom is a journey. It doesn't happen by analyzing data on the Excel sheet. And if suppose you think that he will call my customer and break my price and give the work to him, but if that customer moves away for price, let him move. Creations of mind which stops you from doing great work, extraordinary work.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. See the raw data that I think now everybody are on the digital platform. So raw data everybody are having, but to analyze that is the most important. Basically, for a customer, the response or the group behavior, we use SPSS like cross tabulation, then chi-star, then t-star, like that we use, and we got very good results from that. And those are the statistical tool what we are using right now in our organization. But can you suggest something more that rather than these tools, we can use some other tools
Even if
for
you're using,
analysis of the data?
even if you're using these tools, very good. Because this is amazing. Not many people have heard using these tools also. So if you're using these tools by building right hypothesis, it's good thing. So it's a very show the journey to you. It's will be useful for everybody. This first step of the journey is Data. All of us know it. Without data, nothing can be done.
Yeah.
So the more the data, the better it is. The more the clean data, the better it is. Okay. First step. Then second crucial step. Data is the first element. Data has to start becoming information. So to make data into information, you need to very importantly convert data into logical, understandable formats. Second step. What step? Third step is converting this information into knowledge. So hypothesis creation. Now, this is where majority people fall off. Then fourth step is testable testing hypothesis. So the tools that you spoke about come at the fourth step, right? So
Yeah.
tools that you spoke about come at the fourth step. And the point is, after fourth step, then what do? After fourth step, we work on successful hypothesis. How you work on successful hypothesis is something which is the most important step to convert this data into wisdom. This is a scientific way in which an organization can continuously build new wisdoms. In that data program, I will help you understand all this. Data to wisdom creation. It's important to understand how do we do it scientifically in the right way in the organization. Okay? Thank you. Mr. Kaushal Sharma. Please unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Basically, my question was earlier is asked by the Gaurav bhai. Basically, if the person is not able to analyze the data correctly and not able to correlate it, then there is no meaning to any harms because anybody cannot do with the data. That is the points which I have already said. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Sanjay Shinde, please unmute yourself. Yeah. You have a question, Mr. Sanjay, or it was by mistake?
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So if there are no more questions, we will conclude this program tomorrow with a very beautiful integrated framework that how all these things come together to build a strong sales organization. So I will pick up all the networks, bring all networks together and show you how the larger network map looks like. And how does each organization can make use of the network map to extract the maximum energy from the value pie. So that will be the concluding session tomorrow. Don't miss it. Please, if you have not enrolled for the physical workplace to digital workplace, the link is open now. You can please enroll it by clicking on the link in the chat box. The link is the Townscript link. It's the Townscript transformation of physical workplace to digital workplace starting today evening at 5 o'clock. Kindly enroll for it. There will be a lot of templates discussed with you, a lot of behaviors discussed with you, which will be important for building this uh, digital workplace for all of us. Thank you very much. Let us conclude today's session with a prayer.